Welcome to another installment of Donning the Armor. Today we're going to go from Genesis chapter 8 verse 1 through chapter 10 verse 32. So, with verse 1, Then God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth and the waters subsided. Now this remembered isn't like, that's right, I remember I left Noah out somewhere 150 days ago. Man, where did I leave him? It's that God, in this moment, decided to act. That's what the word remembered is in this context. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters receded continually from the earth. And all at the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. So once again, where did all that water come from? We are now finding out that on top of the oceans, there are deposits of great amounts of water throughout the earth, under the earth, that we didn't know were there. Because once again, like 80% of the ocean, we have not even attempted to actually research and discover. Lots of it is because of pressure. I mean, we almost know more about space than we know about our own ocean. Think about that for a minute. Then the ark rested in the 7th month. Wait, did I do verse 3? Well, if we did, we'll do it again. And the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. Now verse 4. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. So we can see as it's continuing to recede, it was a massive amount of water. It didn't just go away. It took time to recede. Time enough to bury a lot of things. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. Then he sent out a raven which kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. He also sent out from himself a dove to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground, but the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot. And she returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth, not a local flood, the whole of the earth. So he put out his hand and took her and drew her into the ark to himself. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. Then the dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in her mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. Olive leaf typically implied peace. So this is God's peace symbol to Noah, saying, hey, what has been done is now accomplished, and now we will follow through with the rest of our covenant. So he waited yet another 7 days and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him any more. Which means it found a place to go. It found a place to live and didn't need to come back to the ark. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, in the 1st day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked. Indeed, the surface of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried. Then God spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and cattle, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth, and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. God's original command, to go forth and multiply. Go forth, have babies. Cover the entire earth. We're never going to be overpopulated. That's a myth that was promoted in the 70s and 80s, and it was bunk. Go forth and multiply. Because where God guides you, he will provide for you. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, and whatever creeps on the earth, according to their families, went out of the ark. Then Noah built an altar to God and took of every clean animal and every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a soothing aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake, although the imagination of a man's heart is evil from his youth. Nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. God said, I didn't eradicate sin. You still are born of Adam. You still have a dead spirit inside of you. You have your body. You have your soul. You don't have a spirit. Evil is still going to lurk. That original sin is still there and will be with everyone born of your bloodline. But I will never destroy like I did. This was a reset, not an ending. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. All things have a season. All things come and go. The cycle of life will not cease until God decides it ceases. We read about in Revelation that this earth will end and a new earth will take its place. People freak themselves out with climate change. They freak themselves out with everything. It will not end until God decides to end it. And he has already told us, if not when, but how and why. Until that time, this covenant of Noah remains. That there will still be a time for harvest. There will be seasons. There will be days. There will be nights. It will be an endless cycle. Until he decides to remember. To come back for us. Not remembered as in forgot, but remembered as in decides to act on our behalf. So, moving on to chapter 9, verse 1. So God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. And fear of you and the dread of you shall be on the beast of every beast of the earth, on every bird of the air, on all that move on the earth, and all the fish of the sea. They are given into your hand. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs. Remember, before they were only eating plants. If you were following the law of God, you were only eating plants. I still think that the wicked among them that had to be eradicated probably were not doing that. That was probably one of the wicked things they were doing. But Noah walked with God, and now God is saying, look, now you can eat of the animals too. Now people will say, how can all the millions of people and billions of people on this planet now have come from simply Noah, his wife, and his 3 sons and their wives? Well, Answers in Genesis, I know for a fact, is done, if not ever, and not other groups, but I know them for a fact, have done scaled modeling that shows everybody could have come from that. Also, there is a point in even secular science, if you want to call it that, secularized science, because science is just a tool, where that they say that at some point around the time that Noah would have been, there's a complete bottleneck of genetic information. That it was wide, then it shrunk to a bottleneck, and then split out again. Almost as if there was a giant flood that killed everything off, and then had to be restarted from new at this one point in time. But I'm not the person to talk about science. You want to listen to science? Then I mentioned some pastors before in one of the previous episodes. In that one, you want to go to Will Cass, who is the pastor of Calvary Chapel Ridgeline in Kentucky, which is actually right near the Ark Encounter. He's a science guy. He's the smart one. You want to talk to him. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. When you cook meat, there's blood in it. But he's saying you don't mix those things. You don't eat bloody things. I mean, people do now. They eat things pretty raw. But he was telling Noah, you don't do that back then. you weren't to do that. You were to eat it in a way that isn't like that. Surely for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every beast I will require it, from the hand of a man, or hand of man. From the hand of every man's brother I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For the image of God he made man. As for you, be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply in it. He's saying there needs to be atonement. Atonement will come through sacrifice. There will be a reckoning. But he is saying also, I'm not having the repeat of Cain and Abel. I protected Cain. I had mercy on him when he did not deserve it. But from here forth out, the avenger of blood is set in place. So we'll get into that when we get into, I think Deuteronomy has it, but I know it's in Joshua. Whoever sheds a man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. We are made in the image of God. God made us. We are not to then go forth and waste someone else's life and take from them. Vengeance is God's to have, not for us. We feel slighted, we don't act on that. We are not to be as evil as the people whom he erased from the face of the earth in the flood. God will have lots of rules, lots of laws, lots of different things, and ways in which to do it, some of which abhor us because culturally speaking, we don't live in that way, and we'll get to them as we go through the Old Testament. But we need to understand that what we live under now, they lived under then. The covenant might be different, but they lived under God's law. They lived under the rules he set forth, and so do we. Then God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And as for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ark, every beast of the earth. Thus I establish my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations. I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign for the covenant between me and the earth. Our culture, of course, has taken that rainbow and has used it for things that God calls degenerate, God calls sin, and God calls abominable. That's not a mistake. That was intentional by people who want to be intentionally provocative, who want to spit in the face of God and in the face of Christians. Now, I'm not saying that about everybody who falls under that umbrella of that community, but I'm talking about the people who actually chose to use that sign. They did so with intent. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. And God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. And Noah became a farmer, and he planted a vineyard. Once again, Cain was a farmer. God did not respect his sacrifice, his offering. Noah became a farmer. So was that bad of Noah? Well, what he planted may have been. But God didn't reject and didn't look down on Noah the way that he looked down on Cain. So there was something different going on there that, like I said at the time, we don't know. Then he drank of the vine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. Now, that's the problem. As Eve was tempted with fruit, Noah became tempted by what he himself produced. Because not only can wine be good to drink, although all alcohol basically is bad for your body, it's all toxic to us, but he became drunk with it. And when temptation is placed in you, self-control can be hard to come by. And he became uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and saw his two brothers outside, and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it on their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their eyes were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. Now, this doesn't really mean, oh, I saw my father naked one time, so therefore I'm completely horribly sinful. It was the fact that Ham was dishonoring and disrespectful of his father. I mean, he didn't just go, he could have easily just covered his father, but he went out to gossip about it, so to speak, with his brothers. He went out to be in a way that isn't as respectful. So you see Ham as the father of Canaan. Well, we know Canaan is the promised land that is given over to the Israelites. So Noah awoke from his wine and knew that his younger son had done to him. So he knew he was dishonored and disrespected. Then he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants, he shall be to his brethren." Canaan would become the land that would serve and become the promised land that would be given over to the Israelites who would descend from the other two. And he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant." And Noah lived after the flood 350 years, so all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. So, thus ending chapter 9, and now we move into chapter 10, verse 1. Now this is the genealogy of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and sons were born to them after the flood. So we sometimes will overlook the genealogies. We'll kind of skip them. They're important. And if you do name studies and go through these things, you find some very interesting things in them. Now, one of the reasons we do skip over them lots of times is we do not know how to pronounce these names properly because we don't speak Hebrew. And I am going to butcher most of these names, but I'm still going to read them for you anyway. So be prepared to laugh along. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Ripha, and Tarmaga. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshan, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these, the coastland peoples of the Gentiles were separated into their lands, everyone according to his language, according to their families, into their nations. Now, according to language, of course, they all spoke one language at one time, but this is the genealogy as it goes through. Then, in the next chapter, we'll get into the Tower of Babel. But this is how it breaks down and shows where these people would go following those days. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Sheba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, and Sabteca. And the sons of Rama were Sheba and Dedan. Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. Nimrod founded Babylon. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Ekra, Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. From that land he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Ir, Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, that is the principal city. Nezari begot Liddim, Ananim, Lehabim, Naphthalim, Pathrusim, Cassalum, from whom came the Philistines, and Caphurim. Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, the Hivite, the Archite, and the Shinite, the Arvadite, the Zemarite, and the Hamorite. Afterward, the families of the Canaanites were dispersed, and the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon as you go toward Gahar, as far as Gaza, then as you go toward Sodom, Gomorrah, Adam, and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These were the sons of Ham, according to their families, according to their languages, in their lands and in their nations. So as we continue to go forth, you will see some of these names actually pop up throughout Genesis and Exodus and onward. You will see the tribes, but you also see the names of different people, and that's why these genealogies were important. They were very important to the people of the time as they were written and as they were being learned, because it showed the Israelites their history and where the other people around them came from, and why some of the rivalries and hatred and all that continued to be to their day. And children were born also to Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth the elder. The sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad begot Salah, and Salah begot Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for his days on the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan begot Almadad, Shephal, Hazarmaved, Jerah, Hadaram, Azul, Diklah, Obal, Abimel, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan, and their dwelling place was from Mesha as you go towards Saphar, the mountain of the east. These were the sons of Shem, according to their families, according to their languages, in the lands according to their nations. These were the families of the sons of Noah, according to their generations, in their nations. And from these nations were divided on the earth after the flood. So we're going to stop here, but never doubt the importance of genealogies, even though they don't seem important to us all the time. They were incredibly important to the people that they were written to in Moses' time, in Joshua's as they went into the promised land. But they're also important as we look through the names and we start to see these names and these tribes pop up again as we go through the life of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Joseph and Moses. We will see these names pop up again and again and again, especially for certain ones. And I'm sure there are certain ones, if you know Genesis, that some of them have already popped out to you. But I hope this has been a blessing. We're going to stop here, and I hope to see you again for another installment of Donning the Armor. And until then, be blessed.